how to develop some Selenium code to perform some operations on various elements on web pages. From today, we learn the next 20 days. We learn how to develop automation test cases in the real-time fashion. Majorly, the concept is developing automation frameworks. In order to create automation test frameworks, first we need to have the clarity about some other Java concept like object-oriented programming, creating user-defined classes, creating user-defined methods, creating user-defined packages, and inheritance, method overloading, then TestNG, Apache Py, Cucumber to implement automation frameworks. From here, we start learning the advanced Selenium for developing automation test case in the real-time fashion. Note on the topic. Selenium automation project structure. The Selenium automation project structure. So in real time, what kind of project structure we maintain for Selenium test cases implementation is the topic. Right. See, any project you are working, first we need to create a Java project with the name of the project. Say HRM or Primus Bank or e-commerce, something like this. If I involved in developing automation test cases for one project, if you talk about right from the scratch, at first I create a Java project with the name of the project. We create a Java project with the name of your project like HRM project name. I'm giving in a generic manner. Then, for every Selenium automation project, we create a package with the name utils. You know, a package is a folder inside your project. In this utils package, we have to create some common utility classes, some user-defined classes, common utility classes like application utils with a launch application function, a close application function, some common utility function. See, any test case you are implementing for any project, maybe HRM, Primus Bank or e-commerce, something else. What is the very first step? Any project test cases you are implementing, any test case, what is the very first step?
Open browser.
Open the browser, access your build URL, application URL, right? Instead of rewriting the code in every test case or opening a browser and accessing the application, I create a user-defined function. You know, Java provided some predefined methods. Selenium provided some predefined function. Same way, we can create our own function for testing our project. String class provided some methods. Selenium select class provided some method. Selenium Chrome driver class provided some method. Selenium actions class provided some method. Java list provided some methods. The same way, we can create our own methods for testing our application under test. Here I create a function with the name launch app. The code belongs to opening a browser and accessing the application. I keep inside this function, launch app. The code for closing the application, I create one more function, close app, so that in every test case, I no need to build the code to launch the application and close the application. Just by calling this launch app and close app, we can able to open the application and close the application. I no need to write the code in every test case. Hereafter, if I have created the functions like one function for launching the application, one function for closing the application. Generally, this common utility function should be of type static. Static function. A function can be used for any project can be called as static. A function you created for a specific object should be of type non-static. Further, we'll go in detail. Similarly, in real time, mostly your test case and test data are managed in Excel sheets. To count the number of rows in a sheet, to read the data from Excel sheet, to write the data into Excel sheet, instead of writing the code in every test case to interact with the Excel file, I can create one more utility class called Excel utils. Row count one method, column count one method, for reading data one method, for writing data one method. We create some predefined functions. First, before we start, we need to learn creating user-defined classes and creating user-defined methods. We'll learn first time explaining the skeleton structure. See, these utils package classes I can use for any other project also. In the utility classes, you will not put any code belongs to a specific project. Common utility function can be used for other projects also. By copying the package utils, I can make use of all these classes and their function for other projects also. Then we create one more package to maintain your project page classes. First of all, what is a class definition in Java? Yes. Blueprint. Blueprint meaning? Blueprint or red print? What do you mean by blueprint? As per the bookish definition, yes, I agree with you. A Java class is a blueprint, a template for explaining one object. When you talk about technically, a Java class is a programming template used to explain the properties and functionalities of an object. In Selenium, to explain the mouse operation, there is a blueprint, there is a class, actions. The actions class provided some function related to the mouse and keyboard. User actions. In Selenium, we have one more class called select, that is providing some operations or function related to a drop-down list. Chrome driver class contains some functions related to Chrome browser. Safari driver class provided some functions related to Safari browser. String class in Java provided some function related to the strings to perform various string related operations. The same way, a Java class used to explain one object, properties and functionalities of an object. See, if I am working on RIHRM project, every page belongs to my application, I'll consider as one object. Supposing my RIHRM project has about 40 pages, every page belongs to this project, I'll consider as one object. You know, every page will have minimum to minimum one functionality. These functionalities are defined inside the class in terms of functions, methods. So here, we'll create one more package with the name, my project name. If it is RIHRM project, RIHRM dot library. In this package, all page classes, all classes I created for RIHRM project, I can keep inside this folder. The first page in my RIHRM project login page. I'll create a class with the name login page, admin login function, logout function, change password, employee login. All login related functionalities I can keep inside the class login page. I create one more class with the name employee. Adding an employee, update employee, search employee, delete employee, all employee related methods, employee related operations in RIHRM application, I can keep inside a class called employee. I create one more class with the name, for example, user. all login user related operation, creating a login account, changing the password, something like this. All user related operations I can keep inside the class user, etc., etc., etc. Then here I'll create one more package to maintain my test cases for the project. My project name, say RNHRM dot test cases. All common utility classes, common utility functions, I can keep inside one folder called utils. You please observe the name of the package I was not given as project name.utils. Why? I just given utils. Why project name.utils? These util classes I can use for even other projects also. But these project library classes, login page class, employee, I cannot use in the Facebook or Google. These classes is designed only for a particular project. Hence project name.library. For every page belongs to my application will have minimum to minimum one functionality. For every page belongs to my project, I create a class, library class with relevant functions. Once utility classes are created, library classes are created, then I focus on creating test case classes. Project name.test cases. Here, all test case classes I am going to keep inside this folder. My first test case, say for example, admin login test. What is the first step in admin login test case? Here I am not going to build the code actually. By calling utility class function, by calling library class function, where I am going to drive my test case execution. What is the first step in admin login test? Launch the application. Launch the RNHRM application. I don't write the code here once again. Already there is a function here. I'll call the function from here. So automatically it will invoke the application. What is the next step? Login as admin. There is a function here, admin login. I'll call this function from here. By calling utility class function, by calling page class, library class function, I'm going to develop my test cases. The second test case, say employee registration test case. What is the first step? Launch the application. I am not going to write the code again here. Already there is a function for launching an application. That function I'll call from here. Next step, login as admin. Here already there is a function for admin login. I'll call that function here. Next step, add employee. There is a function to create it to add an employee. I'll call the add employee function. I call the logout function. I call the close application function. At test case level, no business logic. First, you create all reusable components and make them ready. By calling the methods, we are going to drive the test case implementation. Then, the same way I create one more test case, say user registration test case. Then I create one more test case, employee login test case. By calling relevant functions. Once all independent individual test cases are implemented, I build a suite, test suite. What do you mean by a suite? What do you mean by a suite, test suite?
Collection of test cases.
All these test cases I am going to group into the suite. Call from the suite. That admin login test case, that employee registration test case, that user registration test case, and that employee login test case. I group all test cases in a file, test suite, so that hereafter, whenever a modified build is given, say today I have received the modified version, If I want to test a particular functionality, say admin login, I'll execute the admin login test case. In a modified version, I want to test only employee registration feature, I run the second test case. I want to test user registration, I'll run this test case. I want to test employee login, I'll run this test case. No, I want to test all functionalities together at one shot, we'll run the suite, all test cases will run one after another. So this kind of structure, the method we have to follow for building automation scripts in real time. But here, the way of implementing test cases, you can develop automation test cases for one project in different formats, in different ways. Each way of developing automation test cases for one project called one framework. Test engine modularity framework, one approach of creating automation script. Data-driven testing, other way of developing automation script. Hybrid framework, other way of building automation script. Cucumber framework, other way of building automation script. Here, mostly followed frameworks in real time are hybrid and Cucumber nowadays. Hybrid, what is the meaning of hybrid? Combination of multiple. The modularity framework, data-driven framework, put together is called hybrid framework. And last 2 years, recently companies are using a new plugin for Java Selenium, Cucumber framework. So for implementing all these automation test cases in real-time fashion, first we need to clearly understand creating user-defined classes, creating user-defined methods, when to go for static, when to go for non-static, then only some concept of inheritance, then only we can implement automation test case in the real-time fashion. Here, just I given a skeleton here. To implement this kind of structure, we need to learn some Java programming basics. Now you little understand the approach here. Any project you are working, there will be some common operations. Maybe you are working on Primus Bank application, HRM application, or any other application. In any test case, the first step, invoke the browser. If you are working on web application testing, any web application testing, the step one, open the browser, enter valid URL and click go. No, I do not want to build the code in every test case in every project. I can create a reusable component. Launch APP, close APP. As I can use these functions not only in HRM, even in other projects also, I make them as static function. I can keep inside some utility classes. Similarly, mostly in real time, test cases and test data are managed in Excel files. We have to read the data from Excel. We have to write the data results into Excel. If pass, I want to show in green color. If fail, I want to show in red color in the Excel. Not only in one test case, in many test cases, even other projects also, we do the same operations. Rather than building the code every time to read data from Excel, to write data into Excel, I can create some Excel-related utility functions. Then, I create one more package with the name myprojectname.library, or hrm.library, or primusbank.library, or ecommerce.library. You know, every application will have minimum to minimum some pages. Every page, what I am seeing in my application, I can consider as one object. You know, object meaning what we are seeing. Any visible element can be called as a object. So in HRM application, the very first page, login page. The login page alone I can consider as one object. Various features are available in the login page. Login as admin, login as employee, resetting a password. All these functions I am going to keep inside the login page class. Similarly, in the same HRM application, employee is another object. We can add an employee, we can update an employee, we can delete an employee. All employee related functions I can keep inside another class called employee class. Similarly, user one class. Once library classes are created, by calling utility class function, by calling library class function, we implement independent test cases first. Test case 1, test case 2, test case 3. Once all test cases are implemented, finally we group all test cases together into a suite. So whenever I run the suite, all test cases will run one after another. So this is how generally we develop automation scripts in real time. But here, the last approach, any approach, maybe any framework, maybe it is a hybrid framework or data-driven framework or modularity framework, utility classes, library classes would be constant, same. The way of creating test cases may vary from approach to approach. These approaches are nothing but the frameworks. You note on this diagram, for implementing the test cases in this format, we are going to learn some Java concepts from here. Selenium automation project structure, note on this structure. For any project, we maintain minimum to minimum 3 packages, utils one package, library another package, test cases another package. All common utility functions you can keep inside one package called utils. These utils I can use for other projects also. The your project related page classes you keep in one package called library. Test cases you keep inside another package called test cases. Once all independent test cases are created by calling the relevant functions, finally we create a suite by grouping all test cases together. So that hereafter, whenever a modified build is given, if I want to test a particular feature, I run the corresponding test case. I want to execute 100% full regression. All test case I want to execute on the modified version, I run the suite. Finish. Is online team done?
Yes, sir.
Just a second, sir.
No, did you understand this approach actually? As online team, did you understand this approach?
Yes, sir.
Can you please explain once in short?
I'll show you the code so that you'll understand. Look at this one. I'm opening some code which I made in the other batch. At first here I created a project with the name RNHRM. I said first you create a Java project with name of your project. Here I am working on RNHRM, so I created a Java project with the name called RNHRM. I have associated Selenium, TestNG. Later we'll talk about this. Java project I created. I associated Selenium, some other libraries required for implementing the code, TestNG and all. Then here, observe here. There is a package called utils, application utils. See the name not rnhrm.utils, just utils. This I can copy and paste and I can use for other project also. Here I created a class with the name called app utils, application utils. Here there is a function, launch the application. There is another function, close the application. You please observe this code. Do you have any details about a particular project in the code? Check. Do you have any details about RNHRM or Primus Bank or something?
No.
No. These functions, meaning this code, I can use for any other application also. To launch the other applications also, to close the other applications also. Don't worry about all these. Before the suit and after the suit, TestNG annotations actually. Okay. This is one utility class. You know, in every project, first we have to launch the application, last we have to close the application. Instead of writing this code in every test case, I created a reusable function with the name launch app. I created another reusable function with the name close app. Here actually using some TestNG I configured before executing the suit and after executing the suit. Before executing a test case, after executing a test case. Further we'll talk about that. Then here I created another package with the name called RNHRM library. For every page belongs to your application. Every page belongs to your application. You can take as one object. The login page is the first page. The login page alone I will consider as one object. You know, Java class used to explain one object. Here, in the package rnhrm.library, library meaning, you know, group of classes. One class I have created with the name called login page. I created a class with the name login page. Here I created some function, login one function. Is admin module displayed or not one function? Logout one function. Is error message displayed or not one function? Some functions I have created. You see all the functions related to login page. Are these functions are available in Selenium or Java? Are these functions are available in Selenium or in Java?
No.
We created, actually here I created another batch for testing our project, RNHRM project. These kind of functions, the user created functions, user defined functions. There's one more class here called employee. To add a register a new employee in the RNHRM project, I built some code here. Not just registering a new employee. After creating a new employee, verify the employee registered successfully or not in the table. After creating all these page classes, I have implemented test case classes. My first test case here, admin login test with valid data. I created some utility classes. I have created some library classes. Now I'm implementing my first test case class belongs to my project admin login test case with valid inputs. Actually, it is extending, copying the methods available in the app utils class. In the app utils class, I have launch application and close application. First launch application will be called before executing a test or a suit. Lastly, after executing a test case or after executing a suit, close application will be called. I no need to even call them every time. Now, we are calling launch application, login, check admin module displayed or not, log out, then close the application. You please observe here, at test case level, you don't have any code like driver.find element and nothing. At first, we have created some reusable components, appropriate functions. By calling the functions, we are driving the test case execution. Actually, this is parameterization. I implemented one more test case, check admin login with invalid inputs. Enter a wrong username or wrong password and verify appropriate error message displayed or not. After implementing the test cases, we build a suite here. RNHRM test suite. Test case 1, test case 2, I group together. The data required to execute the test case also I am maintaining in the file. Now I will run the suite. How many test cases are in the suite now? 2. Admin login with valid inputs, test case 1. Executed. Admin login with invalid input, second test case executed. A suit executed, totally 2 test cases are executed and pass, no failed and nothing is escaped. It's a console output. Also, we are generating some HTML report here. RNHRM test suite is executed. 2 test cases are executed and 2 test cases are passed. There are no failed tests. There are no skipped tests. 2 test cases are passed. Test case 1, admin login test case with valid data. Test case 2, admin login test case with invalid data. The time took for execution also getting displayed here. And what is the data utilized for executing the first test case? Admin QH123, valid username, valid password. What is the data used for executing test case with invalid inputs? The ABC and XYZ. This is what we are trying to do here. You understand this one?
Yes, sir.
Right. Let's implement. So to implement this code, definitely we need to put minimum 4-5 days of effort. Then only you can understand this entire code of what I have demonstrated in 5 minutes. We have to learn all the basics. Then only you can able to implement this code properly. Okay, this is what we are going to achieve. Actually, whatever I demonstrated, this is one way of developing test cases for a project is called TestNG modularity framework. We'll discuss one by one. So whenever a modified version given, just I run the through, all test cases will be running on the modified version, finally produce me the report. These many test cases are executed, these many are passed, these many are failed. What is failed, we communicate to the development team, that's it. What is automation testing definition? What actually automation testing? Is we execute test cases manually on every modified build. We are making our Selenium to execute our test cases. We have to build the test cases, group all test cases together. But I do not want to repeat the code every time. We need to use Java object-oriented programming benefits to simplify our code implementation for reusability, for ease of maintenance. Right. Here, these app utils, these Excel utils, these login page class, these admin login test case class, all can be called as user-defined classes. Agree? User-defined classes meaning?
Sir.
String is a predefined class in Java. Chrome driver is a predefined class of Selenium. Select is a predefined class already available in the Selenium. The user creator, whatever you created for your project testing purpose, they are called user created classes, user defined classes. For any real-time Selenium project, utility classes, library classes, and test case classes we have to create. These classes will have some methods, functions. What is a method? What is the syntax of creating a method? As of now, we are using the methods. As of now, we are using Java methods and Selenium methods. What is the syntax of creating user-defined method? When to go for static, when to go for non-static? These topics we conclude for today. If you learn all these, then only you can able to implement the test case in that format. Also, I use TestNG in those test cases. Without knowing TestNG, you cannot understand what I did. Right. Take the topic. User-defined classes. User-defined classes. User-defined classes. So in the name itself very clear, whatever we create, what we create are called user-created classes. What are the various user-defined classes we have to implement for Selenium project automation? We have to build some utility classes, library classes, and test case classes. All these are called user-defined classes in Selenium point of view here. Take it. For implementing Selenium automation project, we have to create utility classes, this diagram clearly explaining what we have to create. Utility classes, project library classes, and test case classes. With appropriate functions. With appropriate functions, we have to create appropriate functions. The functions are generally called user-defined functions. So, functions, methods, all same. Sometimes we may use a word function, sometimes we may use a word method. Right, take somebody, user-defined methods. User-defined methods. User-defined methods. User-defined methods. First of all, what is a method? What is a method or what is a function? Yes, what is a method or what is a function? These many days we are using many Java class functions and Selenium class of functions. What is a function is my question. Any function, any method will have a set of statements designed to perform a particular task, right? In Selenium WebDriver class, there is a method getTitle which is made to capture the title of the window. There is a method getCurrent URL which is used to capture the URL of the current page. There is a method which is used to find an element. A function, a method is a programming unit. A set of statements are developed to accomplish a particular task item. Here in my project testing point of view, to launch our application under test, I can create one method. To verify admin login working or not, I can create one more method. To add a new employee, I can create one more method. These are nothing but the user-defined functions or user-defined methods. A method is a set of statements developed to accomplish a particular task item. Ultimately methods in any programming are reusable. A method may return a value, may not return a value. GetTitle returns a value, title of the window, string. FindElement returns a value, the element identified, web element. Close method will not return any value, just closing a browser. A function, a method may return a data or may not return a data. Some methods require input arguments, some methods do not require input arguments. Supposing I am creating a function to launch my application. What is the input you have to supply? URL. I am creating another function for login purpose. What are the inputs I have to supply? Username and password. I am creating a function just to close a browser. Do you supply any data? A method may require data, may not require data. These data are nothing but arguments of the function. Arguments of the method, input arguments. Take some short note about it. A method is a programming block. A method is a programming block. A programming block, that is a set of statements designed to perform a specific task item. To perform a specific task item. To perform a specific task item. A method is a programming block, a programming unit designed to perform a specific task item. Continuation. Methods are reusable. Methods are reusable. Methods are reusable. Continuation. A method may return a value, may not return a value. A method may return a value or may not return a value. A method may return a value or may not return a value. let's see the syntax of creating a function. So what is the syntax for creating a method? First understand this, I'll explain. Public. Generally, you know, in any programming syntaxes, if you put something inside the square bracket, what it means? What does it mean?
Array, not mandatory.
Not mandatory, optional. Not mandatory, optional. We can use it or we can skip it. Here, public keyword is not mandate. What is public? When to go for public, I'll explain. While creating a function method, we can use or we can skip it. The other keyword, static. It is also optional, not mandate. If I want to make my method as a static method, then I have to use a keyword static. If I'm creating a non-static method, no static keyword is required. We'll talk about when to go for static, when to go for non-static. A function may return a value, may not return a value. Look at this one. Here I have a method, close method, driver.close something. What is the return type? Void meaning?
Nothing.
The function will not return anything. Void. Just it is closing the browser, that's it. It's not returning any data back to the user. Get. You are supplying the URL of the application. It is just accessing the URL of the browser, not returning any data back to the user. Void. What about this get title return? String. Find element returns web element. Find elements returning list of web element. Like if your code returning any data back to the user, you have to mention the return type. You have to give the return type, string, boolean, character, something like this. Your code not returning any, your function not returning any value, we have to give void, either void or return type. Then your method name of your method, admin login, EMP login, is admin module displayed, employee registration, add employee, delete employee, something like this, meaningful name. You observe in Java coding, any method starting with a lowercase character. Some middle character are getting highlighted with the uppercase, right? So here also I am following. It's not a rule, actually, it's a recommendation. It's not a rule, it is a suggestion for quick readability purpose. Name of your function, method name. You know this open parenthesis and closing parenthesis indicates that it is a function. In Java, any programming block should be enclosed inside. See, if condition, while loop or a for loop or a do loop or anything. In Java, a programming block will be inserted inside the open and closing flower brackets. These are syntax of the function. Public, static, either void or return type the name of the function. And here we have to put the code. Statement 1, enter username if it is my login function. Statement 2, enter password, and so on. Statement N, enter username, enter password, click submit, and check admin module displayed or not. If displayed, return true, return false. If not displayed, return false, otherwise return fail. Return the value to be returned. You have to mention the value to be returned. If really your code returning a Boolean value, in place of void, we have to mention the Boolean. If my code returning an integer, int. If my code returning a string, string. If my code not returning any value, simply void. Finally, this return statement is mandatory or optional?
Optional.
Optional. Because every function may not return a value. If return, we have to use a keyword called return. Your code not returning any data, no return statement. Finally, this is the code. And enter username, enter password. Maybe this code requires some input data. Some function require input argument, some function do not require input argument. You know, input arguments also not mandatory, optional. Argument 0, argument 1, and so on, argument n. If it is branch registration functionality, branch name, address 1, address 2, area code, zip code, etc. If it is launch app, only one argument URL. If it is login, 2 arguments, username and password. Finally, this is the syntax of creating a function. I'll explain all options one by one. What is public, what is static, one by one we'll go in detail. First, note down the complete syntax. Syntax of creating a method, note down the complete syntax. Public, static, either void or return type, method name. Public, static, either void or return type, and method name. Then input arguments. Input arguments also not mandatory, optional. Taken? Now we'll see all these keywords one by one. First, let us try to understand what is this public keyword. First, try to understand what is this public keyword. Okay. Let's see. In some Java project, I have one package here, package 1. In package 1, I have a class called car. This class car has a function called start. In the package 2, in the second package, I'm creating a class, for example, car test something, whatever it may be. Right. I want to call start method, which is a static method present in the car class. In this test case class. What is the class name once again? Car. What is the method name? Start, which is a static or non-static? Static method of the car class I want to call from the test case class. How to call a static method of a class? How to call a static method of a class?
With class name.
By creating object.
Static method.
Method name.
Class name dot method name. What is the class name here? Car. I'm accessing the car class present in the package 1. I'm using the car class present inside the package 1. I'm calling the start. I'm able to use it here, right? I'm able to call it. I'm able to access start method, which is a public method in the other package. In the other package, car test is available in the other package, correct? Right. I'm able to use it. Supposing I'll build some sample code here. Car started something. We'll run this. Car started. You see now carefully what I'm doing. I remove this public keyword. Now this start method is not a public method. Start is not a public method, private method. What is the generally meaning of public? Anywhere in the project you can access. Anywhere in the project meaning among a project will have multiple packages. In any package of the project we can use it. Previous I use it. In the other package I am calling it. You please observe now, just I removed public, that's it. It is not recognizing what is this start. It's showing an error. Okay, I'll write the code again. Before I write the code, car class available in package 1. Car test class I am creating another package, package 2. In this car class, start is not a public function, it is a private function. Whereas stop, enable sport drive are public function. But start is not a public function. See now. Car dot is showing start. Why it is not showing? But stop it is showing. Because here start is a private function, whereas stop is a public function. Why it is not showing enable sport drive? It is a non-static function. If you want to access a non-static function of a class, we must create a object for that class. Otherwise, temporarily what I will do, I also made it as static now. There are two public functions. There is only one private function. I am able to access stop, enable, support drive, which are public function, but I cannot able to access the private function. So you answer me now, what is that public keyword? Yes, you answer me, what is this public keyword? One project will have multiple packages. If you want to access a method among all packages of your project, you must make it public. If you want to make the scope of a method limited to the current package where it is, then we have to go for private. By default, they are private. No need to say public again. Listen, in Selenium project point of view, you answer me, we have to create our functions as public or private. By seeing the structure, you answer me.
Public.
The function available here, I'll access in other packages, test cases. The method available here, I should able to access in the other packages of the same project. So definitely I have to go for public. I hope you understand the word public here. Make a note about it. Public. Public. If you want to access a method, if you want to access a method, among all packages of the project, 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 we have to make it as public. We have to make it as public. Right. Now, static. What is static? You answer me, what is static? Any function will have static methods and non-static method. If you want to make your method as static method, use a keyword called static. Otherwise, no static keyword. Note on this, static. Further, we'll talk about, before we start writing the code, we'll talk about static and non-static in detail. Static. If you want to make your method as a static method, if you want to make your method as a static method, use the keyword static. Use the keyword static.
If you want to make your
If you want to make your method as a static method, use the keyword static. Supposing I am creating a non-static method, the static keyword is do not required. If you want to make your method as a static method, then use the keyword static. Right. See, if a function returning any value, specify the return type. Your function not returning any value, you have to use void. Make a note of it. If your method returning any data, specify return type. If your method returning any data, specify return type. Specify appropriate return type, Boolean or string or whatever it may be. Continuation. If your method not returning any data, specify void. Specify void. Your method not returning any data, specify void. Your code returning any value, specify the return type, otherwise simply void. See, a function may require input data, may not require input data. If your method require any input data, specify the input arguments, otherwise not required, optional. Make a note of this one also. If a method require input values, if a method require input data, if a method require input data, if a method require input data, then specify input arguments, specify input arguments, otherwise not required. Specify input arguments, otherwise not required. Right. Sure, majorly we should have the clarity what is static and what is non-static. Let me explain the difference between static method and non-static method for today. Note down this. Static method versus non-static method. Static method versus non-static method. Now, if you have the clarity on this theoretical concept, then only you can able to build the methods correctly. Static method versus non-static method. Must ask you enter a question it is. What is the difference between static and non-static methods? There are major 4 comparisons here. Let me explain all major comparisons one by one. The very first comparison I am giving between static and non-static in terms of syntax. Syntax wise, what is the difference between static and non-static method? Listen, a static method will preceded with a static keyword. What is the syntax here? See, public is not mandatory, right? Optional. I want to make my method as a static method. I will use a keyword called static, then method name, the code. If I am creating a non-static method, sorry, what is the mistake in my code here? We have to use either void or return type. Either void or return type. If I want to make my method as a non-static method, no static keyword, void and the method name. This is a major comparison. Syntax wise, this is a comparison between static and non-static. Note on the first comparison here. Taking the static side, first take the notes in this way, then you can note down this. Static side. A static method must preceded with static keyword. A static method must preceded with static keyword. A static method must begin preceded with static keyword. A static method must begin with static keyword. Note down the syntax, static void method name. Static void method name. Static void method name. Other side, non-static side. Non-static side. In non-static method, do not preceded with static keyword. In non-static method, do not preceded with static keyword. In non-static method, do not preceded with static keyword. Do not preceded with static keyword. Note on the syntax, no static keyword, just void and method name. See, coming to the board, if you really want to access the methods among all packages of the project, we have to make them as public. I was not use public keyword here. Static, Non-static meaning no static keyword. Don't put non-static. If you are not giving the keyword static, means it is implicitly non-static function. Syntax wise, this is the first comparison. Let me give the second comparison here. My second comparison here, when to go for static and when to go for non-static. Note on this. Second one. Common utility functions Tell me, what do you mean by common utility functions? Launching a browser, deleting the cookies, closing browser, reading data from Excel, writing data into Excel, they are not specific to one application, one object. Such common utility functions should be of type static. Note on this. Common utility functions like launch the browser, close the browser, they are not specific to any one project. The common utility functions like launch browser, close browser should be of type static. Should be of type static. A common utility function like launch the browser, close browser should be of type static. Remember, in this discussion, all these utility class functions, app utility class function, Excel utility class function should be of type static because they can be used for any other project. This launch app, this close app, this row count, column count, all should be of type static because they are not specific to one application. Generally, what is the meaning of static? Constant, common. Hence, I was not given the name of the package like rnhrm.utils. I can use them for other projects also. Right, now, this side. Functions specific to an object. Functions specific to an object. Functions specific to an object like, you tell me something. Functions specific to an object. Yes. In RHRM application, I have add employee function. Do we have add employee function in Facebook? But launch app I can use in Facebook. Same close app I can use in Facebook to close the browser. But add employee I don't have in the Facebook or Google. This RHRM add employee code I cannot use in Primus Bank add employee code. Agreed? Elements are different, properties are different, expected behavior of the system is different. Function specific to an application. Function specific to an object like add employee, update employee, money transfer, bills payment. These are specific to one project. This code I cannot use in the other project, etc. Add employee, update employee, money transfer, bills payment, etc. A function specific to an application, specific to an object, must be of type non-static. Function specific to an application like add employee, update employee, money transfer, bills payment, etc. should be of type non-static. Should be of type non-static. Right. Now, the third comparison, already we know about it. How to call a static method and how to call a non-static method. Take the third comparison. How to call a static method? You answer me. So these many days, many Java functions, many Selenium functions we are calling and using. When I post a question how to call a static method earlier while writing the code, there is no answer from you. How to call a static method? Class name dot method name. What is the first statement you are writing these many days? System dot set property. System is one of the Java class. There is a static method called set property. Are you creating an object for the Java system class? No. Are you creating an object for the thread class? Directly we are using thread.sleep because here .sleep is a static method. Right. How to call a static method? A static method can be called by the reference of the class name. Make a note of it. A static method can be called by the reference of the class name. By the reference of the class name. Class name dot method name. Class name dot method name. Non-static side. Other side. A non-static method can be called. A non-static method can be called how? How?
By creating an object.
Create an object.
Right. Note down this. A non-static method can be called by creating an object for the class. By creating an object for the class. First we create an object for the class. By the reference of the object we can call a non-static method of the class. Actions class provided some non-static method. Selenium select class provided some non-static method. First we are creating an object for the Selenium class, then we are using get option, select by visible text, whatever. A static method can be called by the reference of the class name. A non-static method can be called by creating an object for the class. Right. Done right? The next one. The last one, but while writing the code, I'll explain the last comparison. Here the last comparison is note down this. A static method can access only other static members of the class. A static method can access only other static members of the class. A static method can access only other static members of the class. The other side, non-static side. A non-static method can access both static and non-static members of the class. A non-static method can access both static and non-static members of the class. See the last comparison, while writing the code tomorrow, I'll explain this last comparison, because if I write the code, then only you'll understand the last comparison. See, there are major 4 comparisons between static method and non-static method, which is one of the must ask interview question. Will you explain the difference between static method and non-static method? Here I given the first comparison syntax basis. What is the difference? Syntax wise, what is the difference between static and non-static? A static method must preceded with static keyword, meaning while creating a static method, we have to start from the static keyword. If I want to make it as public, static, void, method name. In non-static method, do not precede it with static keyword. No static keyword. Public, void, method name, no static. Second comparison. When to go for static and when to go for non-static. The common utility function. I am creating one function. Say this function I can use for any project. Make it as static. I am creating a method. I can use it only for this particular project. Make it as not static, non-static. Static meaning common for anything. Not static meaning non-static, only for this particular application. How to call a static method or a non-static method? Class name dot method name, calling static method. By creating an object for the class, we can able to call a non-static method. The last comparison I'll explain tomorrow while building the code. A static method can access only other static members of the class. A non-static method can access, what do you mean by members of the class? I said a static method can access only other static members of the class. What is the meaning of members of the class? A class will have variables and methods. A static method can access only other static variables, other static methods of a class. These are called members actually. A non-static method can access both static and non-static variables, both static and non-static method. The last comparison again I repeat tomorrow. While writing the code, you will understand it. I'll explain local variables and global variables concept tomorrow. That time you'll get more clarity about this last comparison. Okay, right. So just I have given a theoretical concept today, like what is the Selenium project structure we follow, like utility classes, project library classes, test case classes we have to create. And what is the syntax of creating a method and what are the various keywords used in creating a method. Lastly, we have discussed about static and non-static. From tomorrow, we start building the code. What I will do, I'll take RNHRM project. We'll create the functions belongs to this RNHRM application. Some utility classes I create tomorrow, some library classes I'll create, some test case classes I will create. While explaining this, you understand all the object-oriented programming concepts. Okay, right. I stop here today. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, online team. We'll continue tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.